Game week 11 was a game week from hell, but what can we learn and what can we do next? Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan. Today we're going to be looking through Game Week 11, what happened, and kind of trying to look forward into the future a little bit. So in today's video, we're going to be covering my scores, we're going to look at the results of the game week, we're going to look at some overperformers and underperformers, the new injury, suspension, and rotation risk players that are coming into play this game week. We're going to have a look at some early price changes, maybe we need to make some early moves on certain players, and finally I'm going to look at my transfer targets and plans. So let's start off right here, guys, with my game week 11 scores, and yeah, my score 40 points. Yes, we kind of predicted that this would be a fairly low scoring game week. It seemed like a lot of teams were predicted these kind of 1-1 results. We weren't expecting too many clean sheets, and that kind of came true for most teams. The likes of Arsenal, double defense. I know a lot of people have double or triple Arsenal defense. 0.4 goals expected goals conceded, and of course they lost their clean sheet there. It just does go to show that even a brilliant defense like Arsenal, sometimes you are just going to get unlucky with these things. Like, they are not completely unbeatable, and to be fair, maybe we underestimated Sunderland just a little bit as well, because they are a good side. Aside from that, I made a bit of a mistake benching Richards. That was a last minute decision, not the first time a last minute decision before deadline has come around and bit me in the bum, but really it shouldn't have been Chow or Senesi I should have benched. I should have benched Gabriel for his 1-pointer, but hindsight is a wonderful thing, and I think it was so tight between so many defenders who should be starting, who should be playing. So 5 points lost, I guess, on the Chow versus Richards debate. Maybe 6 points if you want to throw Senesi versus Richards, but I think I was always going to play Senesi in that case. We got some points dodgers in Sarr and Enzo, both of these players having fabulous opportunities to score. Enzo actually shot 5 times, the most of any player in the league in game week 11, unable to come up with a goal, created some big chances too. Sarr, similar situation, had some really big chances. And finally, 2 penalties missed. When 2 of your players miss penalties in one game week, it is always going to be bad news, and you're pretty much always going to get a red arrow if you get that unlucky. So Semenyo missed a penalty, Haaland, captain, missed a penalty. So if Haaland counts for 2 players, that's 3 penalties missed in a way. So really, really rough there. But some positives, we had Bruno Fernandes with another assist. He's been really reliable. Some people say he's too expensive for what he offers, but he seems to offer at least a little bit of something every week, and that's kind of appreciated in a low-scoring week like this. And Saka coming up with the goods as well, with the goal and the DEFCON and the bonus points all in one game, giving him a nice 12-pointer. By the way, congrats to anyone who captained Saka. Very, very nice stuff there. And if you captain Gabriel, maybe you weren't as punished as much as you could have been with that Haaland missed penalty, because on another day, a Haaland brace, that could have been really damaging to anyone who captained outside of Haaland or Saka. But there we go, guys. Let me know what scores you got in game week 11. Plenty more to talk about in today's video. So let's just run through the scores quickly, guys. Spurs 2-2. Not too much to be said about this game. Spurs looked like they were going to come back, and Man United finished the game off in the end with a late De Ligt goal, which of course was a Bruno assist. 90-minute man Bruno, by the way. Whether he gets an assist or a goal in the first minute or a 90th minute, you know, it's just as likely to happen with a guy like him. But yeah, both teams looking, you know, a little bit better. Well, Spurs looking a little bit better. Man United, I thought, were good for decent parts of the game as well. For Everton versus Fulham, they got a 2-0 victory over Fulham. Everton getting back to clean sheets, which is good to see, because they have actually been conceding a lot of chances recently. Fulham, as always, kind of just lack a bit of firepower. West Ham versus Burnley, the battle of the teams that maybe are not fully convincing this season, but West Ham with another result, back-to-back wins for them under new management, which is good for them. But Burnley, again, even to West Ham, conceding 3 goals, it does seem very obvious that they are the team to target right now in FPL. Sunderland versus Arsenal, of course, Arsenal looked like they won it, but again, last-minute goals there, creating another draw, just like in the Spurs-Man United game. Sunderland didn't create too much typically in that game, but Arsenal did at times struggle to break down a Sunderland low block. They did manage to get through Sunderland in the end, but it was unfortunately a late goal from Sunderland that squared it up at the end. Chelsea dominated Wolves. Wolves, kind of like Burnley, are a team that continue to be bad. I think Burnley, Wolves and West Ham were previously the teams we'd look at, and we think these are pretty weak at the moment. West Ham, a little bit of a resurgence, but no such signs for Wolves. They haven't got a new permanent manager in yet, or hadn't at the time of game week 11. So therefore, you know, we're probably not going to expect an immediate improvement, but from game week 12 onwards, could things change for Wolves? Difficult to say right now. Aston Villa dominating Bournemouth, and I think this is a fixture where me personally, I probably overestimated Bournemouth and underestimated Aston Villa, because Aston Villa are actually climbing the table now. They are getting results now, and I think we do need to take Aston Villa slightly more seriously and maybe have some concerns about the form of Bournemouth. That said, Bournemouth do have some good fixtures coming up very soon. Brentford versus Newcastle, it was all square, 1-1. Then Dan Burn got himself sent off for a second yellow card. Brentford scored a penalty. And from there, the game was over. Brentford scored an additional goal to make the score 3-1. Newcastle, again, away from home, really disappointing. Crystal Palace Brighton, this is a game I watched in full and regretted that decision. Pretty dull game, really. But some big chances did happen in the first half of the game where both teams looked like they could have scored. Second half of the game, not really too much to wonder about. But Mark Gay wasn't actually playing in that game. He had a kind of a last-minute injury we didn't know about. And I can't remember his name, but the left centre-back that Crystal Palace brought in, young French guy, looked really good, really good. Don't think he'll keep his place over Mark Gay, but still, one to look out for the future. Nottingham Forest beating Leeds. Leeds continuing to be pretty poor. I know there was some speak about actually maybe Leeds aren't so bad defensively, but over the last few game weeks, I think that has maybe been corrected a little bit. Leeds maybe still a team to target. I think we're still targeting Burnley, Wolves, West Ham to a degree. Maybe we put Leeds in a similar situation to that. Man City just now pretty much have beaten Liverpool 3-0. At time of recording for me. Yeah, Liverpool, I think for parts of the game looked pretty decent, but overall, Doku, what a performance. Turned into prime Lionel Messi throughout that game for some reason, and yeah, looks amazing. So curious to see what happens with Doku next, but it's probably not a transfer target for me just yet. So yes, those were the results. We did have some overperformance and some underperformance in this game week, so I want to just go through this. And basically, guys, I've got two tables in front of us. The first table is the players with the most amount of points in game week 11, and on the second table, we have the top game week 11 players for expected points. So expected points take everything into consideration. They take a player's XG, their XA, how many shots do they take, how many chances did they create, did it look likely that they would keep a clean sheet throughout the game, were they likely to get bonus points or defensive contributions, and it bundles it all up to say, okay, based on the actions from a player on the pitch, how many points would we have roughly expected that player to get based on their performance on the pitch. So what we're going to do here is we're going to compare some of those overperformers with the underperformers. And certainly there are a few very, very big overperformers this week. So Martinez in goal with a penalty save is always going to be an overperformance when you do save a penalty. Other big ones, Ballard got a goal and an assist with, his expected goal involvements is 0.09. So yeah, really low expected goal involvements there. Yet he somehow still came away with a goal and an assist and 10 points. So yeah, maybe, 10 points? Yeah, it was 10 points. So yeah, big overperformance there, considering the chances he conceded in that game as well. Arsenal scoring 2 goals, of course. We also see maybe small overperformances from some other players, Garner, De Ligt, Digne. Nothing too significant here, really. But yeah, overall, there were some overperformances, some minor ones, a couple of major ones. But really, there's not too many familiar faces, like popular FPL assets in the top scoring players, which I think is why this was a slightly lower scoring game week. But shout out to any of you guys. If you've got like Keane or Saka in your team right now, maybe you've got Thiago as well, did really well. Maybe you've got him. Bonus points haven't been added in this, by the way, guys, because I am recording directly after the game is finished. So some of these stats might be adjusted over the next 24 hours, but yeah, I still wanted to give an initial reaction here. In terms of those underperformers, I think there are a few players that really stand out here as players who did so well and were maybe unlucky not to get the points. Van den Berg stands out here, by the way, 0.77 XG. He had some huge chances to score in that game. And yeah, only ended up on 2 points. So he could have been a very big scorer. Calafiori, big underperformance as well. The other players probably worth mentioning here are Enzo and Semenyo here. Obviously, Semenyo had the penalty. Enzo was creative and was taking plenty of shots as well. And both of these players, we would have expected them to get many, many, many more points normally. So if you're an Enzo and Semenyo owner like I am, I think you can definitely consider yourself unlucky. Same with Haaland, same with Saar. I have all 4 of those players. But also there are some other players that you were maybe unlucky if you had. If you had Calafiori, you were unlucky there. If you had Vandenberg, you were maybe unlucky there as well. So there we go. Some of the underperformers from the game week as well. Not sure what you guys are going to think about this feature, by the way, but let me know. A quick roundup on injuries, suspensions, and rotation. So we've got a few injuries that we kind of learned more about maybe in Game Week 11. So Enzo and Neto both requested to be subbed off in the game against Wolves. Enzo with his recurring knee injury issue, and Neto felt some tightness in his groin. Neither injury seems significant, so I'm expecting both of these players back in Game Week 12. Kudus was a touch and go for Game Week 11. He was unable to make the deadline to start in that game with his knock, but we are still expecting him back in Game Week 12. Mark Gay was the surprise injury. He had some bone bruising on his knee. He's going to be expected back maybe Game Week 12 or 13. It's a little bit early to tell, but the recovery time we're expecting for him is apparently he's going to be back to training within 10 to 14 days. So that may take us beyond Game Week 12 into Game Week 13, but he may be available for Game Week 12 as well. So one to keep an eye on. We'll have to monitor that over the international break. And Gyökeres, his knee injury, we've got no new information on this one really. So Arteta, famously tight-lipped, he is going to be back Game Week 12, 13, we probably think. In terms of those suspensions, we've got 3 suspensions picked up in Game Week 11. Dan Burn, 2 yellow cards, so he is going to be suspended in Game Week 12. He'll be back in Game Week 13. Paqueta, he picked up his 5th yellow card of the season. He is going to be out for Game Week 12. He'll be back in Game Week 13. Same with Lukic. Out for 12, back in for 13. And I wanted to make a note of some players who have 4 yellow cards right now, who are maybe noteworthy players that we do want to, well, some of us may be considering bringing in right now. But be aware that if these players receive 1 more yellow card between now and the midway point in the season, they are going to be suspended for 1 game. So Collins, Baleba, Garner, Dorgu, Nico Williams, Xhaka, Romero, and Szoboszlai, who just picked up his 4th yellow card in the game that's just finished. All of these players, if they pick up another yellow card, they are going to be suspended for the following game. So be aware of that if you are considering bringing them in, or maybe you have them in your squad. We had some rotations in Game Week 11 as well. Reinders was benched, Gakpo was benched, Kruppi Jr. benched, Evan Nilsson back in. We might see that continue to happen. Reece James was benched, having played so many minutes in the midweek. That's not too surprising given his injury record. Beto was benched indeed, and we have Šeško was benched, and then he was subbed off as well. So an injury there for Šeško. We are waiting to learn more about that injury. It could be a few weeks for him, though, looking at that injury. I don't think it's like serious, but yeah, he could be missing for a game or 2, or maybe even more. So we'll have to wait and see. Again, it's very early when we're kind of looking at these kind of things. So just for continuity, I wanted to look at the midweek fixtures, as we want to do every single game week, but there are none. We've got an international break, so no midweek fixtures this week, but also a lot of midweek fixtures, as a lot of players will be going off and playing for their international teams. So we can skip past this one and look at some price changes. Right, so be aware, guys, there are going to be some price changes tonight according to the Fantasy Football Hub predictions, and we are going to see Mbeumo, Rice, Cherki, Haaland, and Caicedo very likely to increase tonight. But even if they don't go up tonight, you know, we're looking at maybe tomorrow or the next day as potential rising times as well. So if you were thinking about picking up any of these players and, you know, you are very tight on budget, it might be worth considering going early, but be aware, 2 weeks, lots of international games, training, injuries that could potentially be picked up between now and the next deadline. So yeah, be careful with these guys, but, you know, if you are going early, you know, you could get ahead of some prices here. We've got Kudus, Isak, and Gakpo also looking like they are going to drop tonight. Of course, Gakpo and Isak benched this week. Kudus not in the squad. So you can understand why some of these players are dropping in price. Gakpo at 7.5 could be interesting, but Florian Wirtz is you know, creating that rotation risk with Gakpo right now, which is a little bit unfortunate. And we should see Xhaka, Mateta, Gabriel, and Munoz rise in price very, very soon as well, perhaps tomorrow, according to predictions. But we'll have to wait and see. Any players that don't go up or down tonight, we might actually not see them rise for a couple of days or maybe even a week, just because we see a lot of transfers happen kind of around now, and then it will quieten down in the first week of the international break before picking up as we approach deadline. So yeah, wait and see what happens there. But yeah, genuinely a few potential price rises to come. So that's what we've learned from Game Week 11, but what is to come for my Game Week? Well, what I've basically done today is I've forced myself to pick 6 players that I'm thinking about bringing in and 6 players that I would be willing to sacrifice. Now, that doesn't mean any of the transfer target players are must-buys. Far from it. And it doesn't even really mean that the potential sell players are must sells. They're just kind of the 6 players I would be most willing to part ways with. So in terms of those transfer targets, guys, I am looking at Liverpool players primarily because of this great run of fixtures that they do have now. And you know, even after the 3-0 loss, you would expect a team as good as Liverpool to pull things back together, of course. Now, Virgil van Dijk is definitely a player I'm most closely looking at this week, so I put him in the number 1 spot here. It is going to be difficult for me to get to Virgil, to be honest, but he's a player I'd like. We know he's good for DEFCON. He's got some great fixtures coming up, so probably we're going to see some clean sheets as well from him. And he had a goal disallowed, of course, in the Game Week 11 game against City as well. So we know he still has that aerial threat from those set pieces. You never know when he's going to pop up with a goal. Szoboszlai, I'm a little bit put off by that 4th yellow card for him. But in terms of those Liverpool attackers, who else are you going to go for? Wirtz is trouble. Gakpo is rotation trouble. Ekitike and Isak probably going to rotate with each other. And Salah is just too expensive. So where does that leave us in terms of which Liverpool attacker to buy? Szoboszlai maybe, 6.6 million on set pieces, seems nailed on in this team, occasional DEFCON points depending on where he's playing, but he is typically playing fairly advanced currently. Could be the pick, could be the one to go for if you are looking to get involved in that Liverpool attack without, you know, breaking the bank on a Mo Salah. We've got Mbeumo here. I think he has to be in a list of transfer targets right now because he has looked really, really good. A lot of people will, you know, say it's a Bruno versus Mbeumo situation. Ideally, I think I would like to have both players. They're both great. But if there was a case where I needed to free up like 0.5 million, maybe Bruno to Mbeumo could be a way of freeing up a bit of money. I do have 2 free transfers, of course. Thiago looking good. His fixtures turn now. 2 goals against Newcastle, 1 a penalty, of course. But now the fixtures do look good for Thiago. Super cheap still. By the way, he was the number 1 transfer in for the 100 experts in Game Week 11, which was a little surprising. But now, hopefully, we kind of see why. Thiago, brilliant pickup. Minter still looks pretty good. Like the look of him. And if we can find a way to afford Salah, I guess maybe. In terms of those players I'd be willing to sell, Alderete, I think I'm not really planning on playing him anytime soon. Malik Chow, I'm planning on benching him anyway this week against Man City. After that, we've got Everton and Spurs. So they're kind of okay fixtures. I would be willing to play Chow in the home fixtures there. But, you know, there's probably better options. But after that, the fixtures looked really good. So I'm wondering if I'm managing to build up a lot of free transfers and, you know, we get 5 free transfers or an additional 4 free transfers in Game Week 16. Could I just do a Malik Chow hokey cokey? Could I transfer him out now with the intention of bringing him back in a few game weeks with all of our wonderful transfers? I think that's a big thing right now because, you know, we are picking up free transfers naturally. We're going to be granted 4 in Game Week 16. So we're going to have to use up everything in Game Week by Game Week 15. I don't even think there's any point in saving them all for Game Week 15. You know, you may as well use them and be fairly aggressive with your transfers. And that does mean the occasional hokey cokey with a player might actually be doable because of the gifts of transfers that we are getting. So it's something to consider. If I'm not keen on Chow this week and the following game weeks after that, you know, I could kind of take him or leave him. Could we just part ways with him for a couple of weeks and then bring him back? I think he is going to be a great pick. I really do. And, you know, I'm fine to hold on to him as well. But it's just a case of, you know, could we consider selling him? Semenyo, it's annoying he has great fixtures now because the form is way off. The underlying numbers are down. I don't think he's on penalties if Cliver is on the pitch. Cliver was, of course, substituted off just to give us a wonderful Semenyo gift of a missed penalty. Thank you for that, Cliver, getting subbed off just to punish us all. We've got Chino Obi, you know, as a non-playing player. I would always be willing to sacrifice him if we required a change of structure. Senesi is interesting. Still picking up DEFCON. The fixtures are great, but the recent performances have not been there for the Bournemouth defence. So I'm really on the fence whether Senesi is going to be a player to sell or not because, you know, it's that fixture versus form argument, I think, with him. But still doing really well for DEFCON. The fixtures usually breed clean sheets when we're looking at defenders. So could be worth keeping. But, you know, I guess if we could find someone a lot better, you know, if getting Virgil, the only way to do that was to sell like a Chow or a Senesi, then I think I would do it. I'd ideally like to sell Alderete, but I just don't see how that's possible. And Bruno is just one of those cash cow players. I would rather keep him, but also, you know, if I had to sell him, you know, I have to sell him. It's unfortunate players like Sarr and Enzo, who have been blanking, have been playing so well and looking good on the pitch, passing the eye test, the data is good. Plus, they both have incredible fixtures against Wolves and Burnley, respectively, in Game Week 12. So I absolutely cannot sell Sarr or Enzo. But maybe actually these are players that in the near future, maybe these are the kind of guys that could be sacrificed in order to get some of the other players I'm quite keen on. So, for example, if I wanted to go for Thiago, could I make a sacrifice, downgrade Sarr or Enzo, and then upgrade Chido Obi, change my formation to a 3-4-3, and that way we would, you know, have access to Thiago. But I would probably want to wait until Game Week 13 to do that because, of course, I'm not going to sell Sarr, I'm not going to do Enzo. And then we've got the free hit. Am I going to play the free hit in Game Week 13? Very, very possibly. Very possibly, because that's the game where, you know, Chelsea face Arsenal. And actually, I think, who is it that Chelsea play in Game Week 14? I think it's Leeds off the top of my head. But hang on, let me just double check that. Yeah, it is Leeds after that. And then they've got Bournemouth and Everton after that as well. So it's like, there are still some other good games for Enzo, but then we're looking at Palmer. When is Palmer going to be back? Could we see Palmer come in, take set pieces, take penalties, take some advanced positional places from Enzo, and then maybe Enzo is a bad pick, even with good fixtures? Possibly. So, yeah, lots to think about, guys. Thankfully, we've got a couple of weeks to think about it, but that's kind of my early thoughts in general about Game Week 12, and hopefully, guys, this was a pretty interesting video. I'm still kind of working on how to structure this video if we are going to make it a regular Sunday video. So let me know your feedback on this kind of content. Do you like what we included? Is there anything else you feel is missing in these kind of early videos for the game week? And, you know, is there anything you don't like as well in the videos? Please do let me know. Of course, dropping a like is the easiest way to let me know that I'm doing a good job and, you know, this is the kind of thing you want to see every week. And guys, again, if this goes well, if the feedback is positive, and it was fairly positive last time we tried this, even though there wasn't very many views, the feedback was positive. So maybe we can try and make this part of your routine, your weekly FPL binging routine, possibly. Let me know, guys, what you think. Always good to get your feedback. Well, that's it for me today. International break ahead, but there's still going to be a few more videos. We've got a wildcard draft to come. We're going to be talking chip strategy in a video this week as well, before we return to our regularly scheduled content as we approach the following game week. So looking forward to seeing you on the remainder of the Game Week 12 videos. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.